All right, now we're recording.
Recording.
Quick recap for everyone that missed the first 5 minutes. Pom poms started on submarines. It's where all the cool stuff starts. Um, Potts is actually going on a year-long submarine tour next month.
Yep.
Um, he's bringing his trainer. It's going to be real good.
So we actually have on staff
A submarine.
a guy who is a nuclear submarine driver.
Yes. It's
He's one of our coaches.
kind of awesome.
Totally awesome.
Yeah.
I
Um,
think actually they do the testing for that in this really deep lake in northern Idaho,
There's aliens there too.
I
above Coeur d'Alene. Like it's a super deep lake, and they did a bunch of submarine testing there.
believe you're right.
Yeah.
And I heard for all you guys out there looking for that little performance edge, if you train like swim, bike, run on a submarine, you're gonna get better.
You will. It
Yeah.
will because of the lack of airflow, your body has to make adjustments and it increases the blood plasma inside. And then therefore, you get stronger.
Yeah. If you train more on a submarine versus not training not on a submarine, you're better. It's
Way better.
way better. It's way
On the
better.
Norwegians.
Facts.
Fact. Straight fact, no cap. But we
On
both
the
have to have fun.
Norwegians, reverse altitude training is the new thing.
Well, actually, I don't know if this is true or not, but there is a lot of studies talking about hyperbaric chambers and how it helps with aging and longevity.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think it does. It might have to do with like
You're
our our
duh,
telomeres.
yeah, buddy.
So
So many inside
the
jokes right
main
now.
cause of aging is shortening telomeres on the DNA strand. So if we can retard the um, deterioration, then we slow down aging. So
Yes.
yeah.
Um, hey, AP, I actually don't have all the questions. You have them though, right? And all the stuff we're gonna talk
Okay,
about.
so I have like mostly we can jump from like let's go into Taupo and racing in New Zealand,
Yeah. And
and we can kind
traveling.
of launch from there.
Just
So you actually Daniel just got back from New Zealand. He was there for 2 months. And one of the nice things about traveling to New Zealand, especially if you're coming from America, is the time change isn't drastic to warp you,
yeah.
right, Daniel?
No, it's so much better than going to Europe.
Yeah.
It's way better because it's only like for Colorado, it's a 6 hour difference. It's
I think
really
it's 5 now because we did day savings.
exactly. I mean, it's really like a day. But because of the way it works, it's really only 5 hours. So it's not a big deal in terms of like getting over there and adjusting. You adjust pretty quick. But let's talk about that anyway. Let's say, even if it was a little more difficult, what are the few things you should be doing to adjust to a new time zone? Andy, you go. We can go back and forth from on, but start.
Okay, number one, the two things. I'm gonna jump with two. Okay. On the travel over, you could do like some time shifting before, but that takes a lot of mental energy that it can potentially work, but like we're pretty busy people. So you can do small things like go to bed earlier, stay up an hour later, or whatever you, but then you're just working on a different sleep cycle. What I really like is like start thinking about your food on the flight over,
Yep.
make sure you're hydrating, eating right on the flight. And then the main thing when you get there is early in the morning, where the new location, you have to be outside, no sunglasses, getting 5 to 8 minutes of direct sunlight into your eyes. That will really help you with adjusting circadian rhythms and making sure that you adapt quickly.
And that's like a right away thing. You don't like get up and like play on your phone in your bed for 30 minutes.
Correct.
You literally get up, walk outside and stand there, or go for a little walk and then come back. Uh,
Yet, two things that don't count: windows and sunglasses.
yeah.
So it has to be no sunglasses, and you have to act. You can be next to a window if the window totally opens, but it has to be direct sunlight into your eyes.
No refraction. Uh,
Yep.
yeah. And then the other thing, like Andy was saying, is you try and adjust your eating sooner than later. Like if that means it might have some people against this, but like either skipping a meal or gaining a meal just to like kind of adjust your eating schedule, that helps a ton. Um,
I like starting that on the flight.
I usually start the day I'm leaving.
Okay.
Yeah. And it usually means I eat less, which is actually better for flying because then you're not all kind of like full and kind of bogged down on a flight and you're not eating because you're bored. So,
Yep.
no bueno.
Yep. I
Um,
think oftentimes that food intake when traveling is because it's like, hey, what else do we do? Let's go get food.
yes, exactly. That's exactly right. So go
Yep.
drink water because hydration is probably the other mission critical thing for this.
Yep.
Um, what else? A little bit of movement of activity when you get there. Is really good. So like, let's say you get there, New Zealand, you guys are gonna probably arrive in, was it, Auckland, right? They fly
Yep.
into Auckland, and it'll probably like 6 in the morning, 5, 6 in the morning. If you have a transfer at the Auckland airport, do they have to transfer to get to Taupo, or is it car from there? Do you know?
You can do both. I think uh it's a pretty short flight, but you can definitely fly into Taupo. I venture to say most people are going to go to Auckland, rent a car, and drive down.
All
I
right.
will say the driving in New Zealand is not like it's in America. They do have some highways around Auckland, but once you punch south of the city, you're going to be on a country road on the opposite side of the road, and there are a fair amount of one-way bridges,
Yes, absolutely. Lots of them.
right?
And roundabouts. Lots of
And
roundabouts.
roundabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't change. I pick the optimal time for performance based off of physiology, not time zone. So um, I go in for a race, like let's say if it's a Saturday race, I'll fly in on Wednesday or Thursday. Because we're going to New Zealand, it'll probably be a day earlier, just because of logistics and snafus. So you allow a little bit more time. But where I don't like racing in between days 5 and 8.
Yeah.
You can race. I like racing on day 11 or day 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
Sometimes morning of the fifth is okay. Um, I think some of that has to do with altitude, some of that has to do with travel, some of that has to do with time warp. Um, so I mean, I'm sure everybody already has their travel plan, so it's not like we're changing your booking or anything right now, but um, I like traveling for performance and then enjoying it afterwards. We came up with ride the wave as a saying, and this was part of the genesis of it, is you rock in late to a race, you ride the energy of the event, of the excitement of the race and the celebration of your training, and you just hop in. You're not really sure, like you're not totally settled, but like, oh, let's go race, bang, and then you hit it, and then you can actually take a big exhale afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so
It's
that's where Ride the Wave came from,
Yeah,
Daniel.
it's easier because it's like you don't have time to settle and then get worried about everything and like be there and be like, okay, now let me take a breath, and then you get tired and crap from that. So, and then Scott was asking ways to sleep on a plane. Fly first class. It works really well. It's great. Or business class. Perfect every time. I promise you. It's really good. No, seriously, go. I'll go, you go.
Okay, so this one works pretty good if you can have over um, headsets. What I actually like to do is I'll take earplugs, put them in, and then even if I'm watching a show, I will listen over through an earplug. What the earplug will do is it'll help dampen some of the vibration that your brain is experiencing in flight. And it can make it so you can, if you are tired, you will stay asleep longer because you'll have fewer disruptions, whether that's through vibration or a noise. So I actually will I will like I'll come in as I'm getting settled, bang, 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 earplugs, especially for long flights. It almost makes it so like people stop communicating with you, which for me is a good thing. So
So,
people like because you have some communication issues, and I'm not willing to take out my earplugs, so I'm just like I got earplugs in. Good night.
yeah.
That one works for me.
Yeah,
I
ear
like that. I like sleep masks, and we've tried Ambien, non-Ambien. We when we went to Mallorca.
yeah.
Yeah.
Besides that, I mean a good like neck pillow of some sort is really good. I really like the new ones that attach to the seat and just hold you in place. Um,
Okay, dude. That the name of that,
yeah.
if you're wondering, I'm was contemplating should I get this for myself for Christmas, but I haven't pulled the trigger. It's called the sleeper hold.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, like the WrestleMania guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's
Yeah.
go, WWE.
So it attaches to most airline chairs. I think there's a Southwest adopter, but if you're traveling internationally, you're not flying Southwest anyway. But um, you stand upright, and it makes it so you don't get neck crinks.
Yeah.
It's called the Sleeper Hold Travel Pillow. Dude, I'm not even joking.
It's
I
great.
have on my saved windows on my phone.
There
Sleeper
you
Hold.
go. There you go. Yeah, it's really good. It really makes it better. Except when you go to get up and you figure you have it and you go, and you just like, it's really awkward, but it's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. This thing. The more I, this is what it looks like. It's kind of got a little neck thing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I don't know how much it is.
You remember, I forgot where
Oh,
we were going. I think we were going to South America somewhere. I had that like one you blew up and it went around you and it was like a whole body
oh
pillow.
yes, it was like a banana sling.
Yeah, that was kind of cool too because you can kind of like hold it and it kept you in place. It was like
It's
your,
your own snuggle buddy.
yeah.
buddy.
But then I realized I was traveling with you, so I just had you hold me and it was fine.
Yeah, it looks like they're $60.
Yeah.
All right. I
Um,
think you get a discount if you get more.
yeah. AP Racing sponsored sleeper hold.
It was actually made by this guy who does jujitsu. Jujitsu.
Well, that would make sense, right? Sleeper.
His last name Gracie.
Oh,
Not lying.
I know about him. Know a little bit about
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Uh,
Okay.
yeah.
So, all right. So let's go into Taupo and like walk through the race. The swim on the race, the water's pretty cold. And if it does get windy, I do remember like some pretty gnarly waves. It's a lake. It's an interior lake in the northern island of New Zealand. Um, because New Zealand is an island and you're on an interior lake, there they do make their roads a little differently. And Daniel can talk about this in terms of like riding and tire pressure, but um, I want to say they are a little chip seal, like a little rough. Does
Yeah.
that sound right?
Most of them are chip seal. Yeah.
Okay. So chip seal, just an uneven road. You're going to want to run a little bit lower tire pressure. And the swim's pretty straightforward. It's definitely cold. And New Zealand can be cold.
Yeah. Freezing. Well, and
Um,
the whole thing with all their lakes, I mean, New Zealand is pretty much all glaciers. Everything's made from a glacier. So you have these
okay.
mountains and glacier lakes. So expect it to be a little chilly.
Yep. So I want to say that there's a volcano that you can see from Taupo, Rotoranga, maybe.
Sounds
Anyway,
about right.
probably ruining that one. Um, but I can totally see that they're glacier fed, and there can be like a little bit of that bite or crisp in the air. At the same time, like it could be nice. I do remember racing in New Zealand one time. It was November and it was wet. It was definitely wet, and I actually had a friend there who was traveling at the same time, and he wanted to watch. And it was a non-wet. I think I had two wetsuits, or he had a wetsuit. He ended up watching the race in a wetsuit with plain clothes over it to stay warm.
Yeah, I could. Sounds like a good strategy.
It was a little hacks before hacks were invented, because that's how old I am. Okay. So yeah, the swim's pretty straightforward. As you navigate, and I think it's a point to point swim. So you're gonna have to walk down from transition. You walk down to the swim start. It's kind of one of those like come in or you go out over and back into transition. Not really a current there because it's a lake. Um, and then when you do get on the road, you are riding opposite side. You're going to be hugging the left and you're going to be hugging the left side of the left lane. And then you are making a clockwise loop. It's like a small stick that goes out maybe 5 miles. Then you've got a 45-mile loop and then 5 miles back into town. Yeah, Daniel,
So just to reiterate, that means you're passing on the right.
correct. Yep.
Or you could just draft the whole time, and that works really good too. It's really good. Yeah.
They don't have officials there.
No, they don't. They have a lot of sheep though.
Oh, they have tons of sheep.
On the sheep. Yeah.
Tons of
They
sheep, and I
couldn't.
would recommend the adventure of spelunking. They
Okay.
do have some. They do have some good caves in on the North Island if you are staying longer. If you're bringing your family and your name is Tanya, definitely take the kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matt's bringing his whole family too. The whole gang.
I
Really?
wish.
Yeah. Tanya's not going.
Not going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
Who on you?
okay.
Get off the call. Not allowed. No more.
Um, okay, on the run, you are running Lakeside, two loop run. You're running Lakeside. It's kind of Main Street in Taupo. The Main Street is like basically a block up from the lake. Super cute. Tons of restaurants, small. It's a quaint town. It's not this robust city, although it may look like it could be because it's one of the bigger ones in New Zealand. But it's a town, and triathlon's going to blow that town up. Like it's going to be a bunch of triathletes.
Yep.
They're very welcoming. Daniel, I'll let you talk about making orders in restaurants.
Sure. That'd be great.
The run out and back along Lakeside, just kind of you hug the lake. What gives me similar vibes to is if anyone's done Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah.
Similar to Coeur d'Alene, similar to the town of Coeur d'Alene, actually. Similar temperature in the water as Coeur d'Alene. And the roads,
Yeah.
very similar.
So you're pretty much
So
going to New Zealand to race Coeur d'Alene. No, not at all. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
yeah.
Um,
What do you got, D?
no, the only thing on the run that you really got to kind of think about is as you're going out, take a gauge if there's any wind and where it's coming from. Because if it's at your back, you're going to get it on the way. You'll get it. You'll get a headwind on the way back, so you can gauge your pace, effort, and everything else along the way. That'd be the
Yeah.
only like thing to think about, really. That might be different than other places or otherwise.
So can we tangent on that real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, let's say there is a crosswind or driving rain or what have you. You what we really try to like what I prided myself on is being a real smart racer. And this was before we had technology to help us with decision making in the moment. When you're in a time trial position on the bike and you have a crosswind, that's when it's really important to be disciplined with your position, right? In a crosswind, and then really not only discipline in your position, but discipline in your power output. And this is my tangent question for you, Daniel, because I know that you've used it a ton,
Yeah.
is that run power.
Yes.
So it's more obvious on the bike. We're moving at greater speeds. Aerodynamics sometimes can trump weight. And oftentimes it can because of the speed that you're traveling. On the run with a dynamic environment, whether that be hills, wind, And then sometimes it's a trap game on a two loop run course based off of the stagger on the start. You could be on lap one, someone else is on lap two, or vice versa. You're on lap two, you get suckered into something dumb because someone else is on in lap one.
Yep.
So can you talk about a little bit about run power?
So it's really fun. I was thinking about this the other day. So I'm going to tangent your tangent and then come back to it. The other day when I was running, I did a run 3 weeks ago. It was 14 miles. I averaged like 9 minute pace. And it was like, but I was like 310 watts on the run, like power. So it was pretty good power. And it was just slow, but it was in the mountains, right? Up and down, all trail, really hard. A week later, and it was 14 miles. A week later, I did another 14-mile run, averaged 310, and I ran, I think, 710 pace. Um, so pace is not always a good indicator, especially if you live in the mountains, you run on trails. I run in snow all the time. It's really windy where you are, so there's something you can get in New Zealand, right? So power can really help you meter and gauge how well you're actually running. So that's kind of like the tangent of the tangent, right? Now, when you get into like racing, um, there's a few things. One, you should have a strategy and a plan on your effort, and you can use power to gauge that, right? So like, oh, it's uphill. I feel like I'm going really hard, but I'm going really slow. That's okay. Or hey, there's a fast mile. So there's one thing Andy and I talk about a lot, Andy, we talk about is you take your fast miles. So like you're supposed to be running 8 minute miles. You're like, oh man, I'm at 7:30. You don't slow down. I mean, if you're running a 5 minute mile, maybe you slow down, right? But like if the 7:30 is an even effort and it feels good, you take it. And power really helps you with that too because you like, oh, my 7:30, but I was running my 250-watt power and I'm good to go. Yeah, Pat, good question. Run power. Two ways you can measure it with well, there's a lot, but like stride, um the most common stride power meter, which is a foot pod. You can get one for each foot too nowadays. Um, or like I most of the time use my Apple Watch, and I don't know the algorithm they use, but I've tested it with my stride, and it's really close. The two of them are really close to each other. So I kind of I use either of them. It doesn't matter to me at this point.
Do you
Um,
find that your run power is similar, higher, lower to bike power
uh,
for like the effort versus the output?
so when I'm fit, they're almost identical.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So, especially with Stride and Apple for like when we had the Polar one and there's a few other ones, it wasn't close at all. It was so far off.
My
Um
polar power is pretty high.
yeah.
Like I'm chilling at 360,
Yeah, it's off. Doesn't it's just different the way they're doing it.
but I do push big watt
But I
spots.
want to say, and I might, yeah, huge watts. You're a huge watt guy. Huge watt of energy. That's what you got. I want to say that, and I might be making this up, Stride said a few years ago that they built their algorithm so it would be close, so people had something relatable to work on. I might have made that up, but I feel like I read that somewhere.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's really kind of how I use.
So so my next fall so all right, follow-up question. We have a pretty tight window between now and Taupo.
Yeah.
But we also have a lot of people who aren't racing Taupo who
Yeah.
have the winter. Both scenarios. I don't have a power run anything to gauge my run power, and I haven't really been training with it, so I don't really know. What would you suggest is a good mental approach? And I think you've already pretty much touched on it, but I just kind of want you to like silo it and put it in its own box, and then we can, the second question is, okay, maybe run power is something I'm looking into. I want to look into. Um, what are the first basis steps? So I
Yeah.
don't have a run power meter. Haven't been trained with it. What do I do in race day?
So all right, so if I'm not using power on race day, I should be dialed enough with my effort at this point because I've done so many efforts in zone one, zone two, zone three, and build workouts and descending workouts that I should be able to dial my effort. We talk about it all the time. All these tools you have, like we talk about them, we reference them, but we don't need them. You absolutely
Correct.
don't need them. Like we we've talked about it before. Like Andy, if I told you, all right, let's go out, let's go like race effort. I want you at 302 watts. You'd be at 302 watts just based on feel because we're trying. These devices connect what you feel to your output. And that's really what you're trying to do here. So I would say if you don't have one now, rely on what you've done. Race day is just an execution of what you've done for so long. And your body should know where to go. And then your mind and the feel, you should be able to dial it in. If
Yeah.
you did your job and we did our job. Okay.
That perceived level of exertion that Daniel's referencing is tried and true. It also is a very it it travels well. So sometimes when you're given 7 out of 10 effort, like, and that's what you want to be giving at the early first 3 miles of the run. Hey, I'm gonna keep this 7 to 10, and you're real honest with yourself in terms of like, this really is an honest 7 to 10, not lying, saying I'm running 10 out of 10 and it's a 7 out of 10. That's a trap, right? You want to that internal gauge. Um, there's a reason that that scale exists. The Borg scale is, I think it's called. There's a reason that it exists. You can use percentages. You can use FTP. You can use blood lactate. You can use zones. All these things are saying the same thing. You can use colors. They're all saying the same thing in a different way. So when you don't have these tools at your disposal, but you maybe train with them a little bit, there's the last one matters, man. Like that, like what's it feel like?
Well, and then I'm gonna really confuse you here. Sometimes that doesn't matter either. Because hey, I want to go 110 in this run and I have to win the race, well, screw it. I'm running 110. And that takes a different kind of person, different kind of preparation, and a hell lot of balls. And it's risky as hell, but that'll confuse you. But that's the other way to look at it. I don't advise it all the time, but it's doable and it makes
But
sense.
yeah,
And
if that's your job, that's your goal, then that's what you got to do.
yeah, horsey issue. And then here's your other part of the question. How do you start with run power? If you had not using it,
For our winter people who are like, hey,
yeah,
run power, that sounds pretty interesting.
you go and get one, whatever one you want, okay? And you just run with it for about 2 weeks to a month. You don't change anything else. You don't even look at it that much. You start looking at it just to not to prescribe, but more to start seeing the same numbers over again, get used to it, see what different efforts do, and just feel for it. And then you start honing in on what my efforts really mean and what I need, power wise, effort wise, and how they connect together.
Yeah.
Familiarity will make it easier for you. Same thing with a power meter on a bike. You don't go out and say, all right, now I'm doing my intervals and I start, and this is the day one. You kind of ride with it a little, you get used to it.
Yep.
I'm gonna go back real quick, Andy. Racing in the rain. I got a few
Yep.
more tips. On the bike, never ride on lines. White lines, yellow lines, any lines. Stay off the lines if it's raining or wet at all. Bad move. Um, Gear, gloves, if they have good grip, help. So you don't slip off your bars. If you're a person that gets cold, a windbreaker or a jacket helps. I mean, we were talking about this the other day. You go outside every day, and before you go outside, you make a call whether you need something or not, like a jacket or a hat or whatever. It's the same thing for your race. If you know you get cold, wear a jacket, wear an underlay, or do something like that. What else? In the water, it doesn't matter. It's actually really delightful to swim in the rain. I like it. Bike, it's lines and gear. And on the run, make sure you're still hydrating. Because most people, because the cooling effect of rain and just you're wet, they forget to hydrate. Make sure you still hydrate. The bonus of racing in the rain is you can pee yourself the entire time and no one ever knows, and it always gets cleaned off. So winning. Um,
The base layer in the rain, I really like that Mylar blanket. You can get
yeah,
them at like an outdoor shop. Cut it for your torso. So you're gonna make this like rectangle. You put it on your torso, similar to like what cyclists used to do at top of mountains, grabbing newspaper. This is like the 2024 version of it. Cut the Mylar blanket, tuck it into your waistband, pull it up, then come around, put the suit on, and zip it up and kind of make sure it doesn't bunch on you. Same thing on your back. If you wanted to use the Mylar, cut it, and then you might need a little help with that one.
it's why so similar but different. It's why I'm a really big fan of a vest. Because it usually doesn't have too much, if it's tight and form fitting, it doesn't have too much of an aerodynamic issue and it keeps your core warm. Uh, and then you can pull it off and chuck it if you need to, in a designated zone, of course.
The
Um,
reason I like the Mylar is same.
yeah, yeah,
If
fair
you
enough.
don't need it, all you do is reach down, you pull it out, and you can pull it out, and then you just chuck it
Yeah, exactly. All right, perfect.
in a designated zone.
In a designated zone. All right, so a couple more questions here, Potts. Let's run through these real quick. And let people, if
Yep.
you have questions about what we just said, please ask. Clash Daytona, strategy for cycling around the track, road versus tri bike. Tri bike, absolutely, positively, no doubt about it. That's 100% TT position race. Um, Trick for riding around. It's just like on the road, like manage your speed going into the corners or turns. They're pretty chill. You gotta think cars go around those at like 100 something miles an hour. You're not gonna probably have to slow down too much unless it's like some weird ones. It's pretty much no brakes, one gear the whole way on that course, unless you have a wind.
This one's pretty tough. Physiologically, there's no brakes.
It's hard.
So you really want to be like disciplined with your power output early. And because you can't change your, like you can invent a hill and up and out of the saddle or a corner, but there aren't any. If you are whipping around, like the track will handle any and all speeds, and you have to be disciplined in your position, and it is exhausting.
Yeah, it's a really hard race, mentally and
Mhm.
logically. It's
Mhm.
like an Eagle Man. But
Oh,
worse.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, Potts. I'm going through some questions. Triathlete, ideal to train on road bike or TT bike? How do you decide what to train on? Go.
I like training on a race bike. I think you can learn a lot about the nuances of how to put your body in different terrain, how to negotiate corners, how to like sit on your bike when it's windy, where to be on the saddle when you're climbing. If you are strictly just going out because you love riding and it's not you're working out versus training, I ride, go ride your Diamond Road bike.
Yeah, there you go. I would say if you're riding with a big group, especially roadies, I would get on my road bike.
Yeah.
Um, if you're, I mean, I hesitate to this one. You're climbing some epic climb
Okay.
like Pikes Peak.
Pikes Peak.
That'd be one of like three in the world. Nah, in the US. Like maybe there's like 10 in the US. I'd probably ride a road bike just for coming down, but we've rode our TT bikes on stuff like that all the time. We love it.
Sure.
I've actually rode a gravel bike up that road. Not even gravel, it was a cyclocross bike without brakes. That was a good one. It's fine going up. Going down was the problem. But yeah, you should probably ride your road bike, your TT bike as much as you can. Because like just physiologically, like the muscles too that you're working are different, and like just those like your hips feel different on a road versus TT bike, even if the positions, the hip angles are similar. It's just different. Um,
Yep.
I rode my road bike a lot early season, and I would ride my mountain bike even more. But once it was time to get going, it was all TT all the time. Um,
Yeah. There's something to be said for being super comfortable on the TT.
yeah,
Especially like again, honestly, if you have a diamond in the cross section is thicker, you do need to know how to like sit on it.
yeah.
And I feel if there's a crosswind with the big fairing, um, yeah.
All right. This is like a five-part question, but it's a good one. Okay. As an athlete, what we can do to help our coach help us optimize our improvements. Help us help you. Communication is key, but how much is too much or too little? What data is important to see for coaches? And how long does it take for a coach to see if the experiment of one is a success? Lots of questions there. You want to start?
Okay. How long do you know before what you're doing is successful? I probably need 5 minutes with you. Um, there's a way that you can communicate that says, hey, I understand what you're saying. I'm having trouble executing and implementing it. What do you suggest? There's always something to learn. There's always a technique to hone in on and make sure that it's you own it and you can control it. Um, the debrief is more important than you think. Sometimes it's important for you, sometimes it's important for the coach, sometimes it's important for both you, especially on key sessions. You could say something, and it could be an innocuous one off comment, but the coach is going to go, hey, that's super important. Let's drill down on that. All right, I had this workout where I was going to do, yeah, 5 times 10 minutes with 2 minutes recovery on a bike, on a trainer. Okay, I was good through 1 through 3. I hit my power, I faded on 4. On number 5, I came back and I was way more powerful than I thought I could do. And then like that's just you describing your workout. Well, as a coach, I hear that and I go, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, were you going, why were you so much better on number 5? What happened on number 4? Were you fueling? And then I start asking these like probing questions. And then we start looking at like, oh, maybe we could be a little bit more aggressive up front. Um, Maybe it was strictly you bonked on number 4 and then you needed a comeback. Or maybe it was one of those things where like you're good when you smell the finish line and everything else is mentally daunting. What's the highest hurdle that we need to lower to achieve our best? Based off of feedback, that's how I read that and go, oh, okay, let's lower some of these high hurdles and let's raise some of these low hurdles. And then we make these small adjustments and we try it again.
Yep, agreed. And the other thing too, like kind of like in the communication, you don't know what's going to be important. It's the same thing with the data too. Like, yeah, the person asked what data is important. There's days where like everyone knows we do 15 beat drop workouts, right? And they're at zone 4 and everyone thinks we're looking at your pace and your effort in zone 4 when in actuality we're looking at what's happening in between your intervals. So how long did it take you to recover? What was your heart rate at the start and at the finish of recovery? Like those things become important. Or you had a really hard workout or 2 3 really hard workouts on Saturday. What happened on Sunday during a cruiser workout? And we're looking at that stuff too. So it's I always tell people like what you think is important is not always important, right? And we're looking at things that you don't even guess sometimes. And so like it's important to talk about it, and so we all get all that information. How much is too much or too little? It's a really tough balance for you and for the coaches in general. I find I like I say this all the time. I have some athletes that call me every day, some that text me every day, some I hear from every 4 or 5 months. But we also have established a rhythm and we know each other so well that it's like a few words here, a few words there work. And I can look at their stuff and I know what's going on because I know about their personal lives and about everything else too. So it comes down to what you need. And then if the coach can't figure it out, talking to you about it. More communication at the beginning is always better too, because it makes things easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And then, yeah, I guess the other question, I think what he was trying to say, Andy, is how do you know if like a training methodology or a protocol is working? Um, and I think it depends on what you're trying to do, really. But usually you see adaptation, like good adaptation in like 3 to 4 weeks if you're already pretty like fairly fit, right? Um, I think the opposite's more important is what's not working. And so like you can quickly see, oh, um, this guy can't handle this either volume, intensity, this specific type of workout. Like, oh, really good in zone 4, zone 5, really terrible in zone 2, or vice versa. And you can see that pretty quick and you can adjust and you either play towards your physiology usually to help them, or you try and make up the deficit in their physiology by prescribing stuff for it.
Yep,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. Um, that was everyone's questions for the entire month, which is unbelievable. Um, a couple quick logistics for everyone. We're working on right now a new team race calendar that like will let everyone see everyone's races, and maybe it's not just a Google sheet so that people actually use it and it'll send updates and stuff. Working on that. Um, Chula Camp, I believe, is sold out. We might have one slot left. I got to check, but it's still open for registration. We might have one or two slots left if you want to go. Um, Swim and ski camp, we're full. We could use one more female athlete if she wanted to come, especially if she doesn't mind sharing a room with one of the most awesome people ever. Just because someone had an injury and they not be able to ski, so we're trying to fill their spot and help them out. Um, what else? Oh, we're gonna our Chula camp store will open up pretty soon, and we'll let everyone else if they want to get those awesome kits, they can get them too. Pressio will have going pretty soon too with all the run stuff. Um, Otherwise, we're gonna do a orientation meeting for all our Potsheads Plus athletes in the next 2 weeks. Because it's about that time. And we got Christmas coming. Let's go. Happy holidays, all holidays for everyone. Kind of awesome. Oh,
Nailed it.
yeah, I think so.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Happy holidays. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Tanya, actually, believe it or not, he's not that old yet. His birthday's not till the end of December.
Oh, I know, I know.
Okay. All right.
But he's getting old.
It's crazy hitting the big 6-0. Like, what the heck? Unbelievable.
Oh, it's triathlon age. He's already reached.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. You know you're old when like the hair.
ARP card comes.
Well, but I'm really interested in like how to get my hair to become thicker and like
It's super thick on your back, though. You're good. All right. So I think that's all we got. You guys got questions? Anything spur anything from you here today? It could be about anything.
I do think there's a lot to be said for that run power.
Yeah, there is.
I think it's probably um
Oh,
the new field that we're going to see a lot of advancement in.
I got and swim power. Oh, baby, swim power. You know, we use that at camps.
Yeah, swim power. I wish we had more of them.
Yeah.
That those like the EO brand, like, and it shows you where you put your power, but it's awfully pricey because I was like, I wanted to get one, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just look at my data when we come to camp.
Yeah, fair enough. And then you'll buy it after. All right, wait, I actually had two things real quick. And it's not a quick thing, but I'm gonna bring it up anyway.
Mhm.
Um, Off-season training, okay? There's a lot of different approaches to this. The worst approach is to do nothing. Um, do something, move, activity. It could be not triathlon, not swimming, biking, and running, but you got to move and do something. Your body needs it, your mind needs it. Um, Come back to triathlon or come back to training when you're ready for it. Don't come back too early. It's mentally exhausting to do what you guys do. How many weeks out of the year, plus have jobs, plus have families, and plus everything else. Make sure you're good to go because once you turn the switch, it's time to go. The next thing, and this is something actually Connor and I started going over yesterday a little bit, is we sat down and looked at his goals and then we mapped out, and this is what you should do. It's a good exercise. I want to go 8 hours and 50 minutes in this race. What does that mean? It doesn't just mean I have to swim this fast, bike this fast, and run this fast. It also means these are the training protocols I need to get that to be able to go that fast in the race. And what does that mean? I should be able to do this workout. I should be able to do this workout. I should do this workout. And then from there, then you go back another step and you say, what does that mean I have to be able to do in January, February, March, April, and May to be able to get there? And it's really important to have that understanding because I can't tell you how many times you hear people say, "Oh, I want to qualify for Kona. I want to get my pro card. I want to qualify for World. I want to be top three on the podium." Okay, what does that mean? I don't know. It means I want to do that. It means a little bit more than that. So I would start doing that exploration on your own, so you have a better understanding. And if you have a hard time doing it, you don't really understand what I'm talking about, um, call up Andy. He'll help you. That's cool. Sound good?
I have a question actually, just something that just kind of came up.
Yeah.
So Andy said get out to the race 4 days before. Well, so like when I went to Kona, I got up about like it was a week early and I had all of the mechanical problems. So how do you manage that and not like I guess I kept calm and it was fine, but I was freaking out. Like my bottom bracket came loose, my derailleur hanger was bent. And then I got home and my chainring was fucked. So but that was after the race, but before. How do you know, like, don't you need to get there like a little bit before to like make sure the bike is okay? Or how do you manage when something goes wrong and there isn't a mechanic? Kona was luckily had like the most amazing bike shop ever that worked 24/7 to get everybody like dialed.
So, couple of those things, like that's the prior planning prevents. I would always travel with like end up traveling with five extra derailleur hangers at one point. Just because they came in a set of five. So I just put the whole set in my mechanic, like my bike build and bike breakdown bag, which had my Allen keys and some lube. And I actually end up expanding my toolkit that I travel with so I could tackle these problems when they come up. Sometimes you have something that's a proprietary piece that's just like you never thought
Yeah.
until it happens, right? Like, so like a seat clamp, that's a tricky one. Some seat clamps only work on certain bikes.
Headset.
Headsets, headset works, but then you have the stem, like hangers. So I would go buy an extra hanger and travel with it. The other stuff, what I would do is I actually would take my bike into my shop and I have it once overed. I say, can you get this race ready? And I have it once overed before I pack it up and take off. And that was like that. It totally adds, it adds money, it adds an extra step, it adds time, and it adds an element of complication because you're giving them your bike maybe like 2 weeks out. And what are you training on? So like you need a little stopgap, or what you do is just like how you would plan your race, you plan ahead of time to take your bike in. So okay, let's say I know, okay, I'm racing August 15th. All right, sweet. On August 2nd, I know it's December. I'm setting an appointment for August 2nd. They know it's there. They know it's coming. And then it gets once over and I get it back. So I started doing that. And that really helped. I know it takes planning. I know it takes time. I know it's exhausting. I know all these things. But at the same time, like it can make it so you avoid like the stress that's related to what you experience. And I wasn't immune to that in my career.
And I could think of two times, like sometimes emergencies happen and
Yeah,
they're out of all control. Like think about Alcatraz that time, Andy, where we were up till what, 2, 3 in the morning. And
didn't
then
sleep.
we had to do external shifters on the bike last minute just so you could race. Or
Dude,
the
the true story.
yeah,
It
or
was internal cabling for electronics skills shift. It broke. It straight up broke. We ended up resetting setting up my entire bike for mechanical shifting, externally taping it to the frame, and I raced.
And that was like 2 in the morning, the morning before the race.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I got an hour of sleep.
Yeah. Or that time we were in Chile? Is that where we were? And I had to go into the garage
Oh
and take
yeah,
the van. I went in the garage, in a parking garage, third floor down in some guy's van, and he machined a part for me for my
he
headset. So
fabricated a proprietary part.
yeah, it was super scary. I thought I was getting human trafficked. It was not good.
So that
I
Um,
mean, so
so
I think we all have those like really bummer stories because you know what you put into what you're trying to do.
mhm.
The prior planning can help. It's not a panacea. It's not going to be a fix all, but it had saved me. It saved me a bunch of times. You know what else saved me is the chain breaker. I'd
yeah.
end up buying one of those, putting a chain brake in my travel bag. So my travel bag ended up being like chain brake, two extra hangers, Allen keys, lube, gloves, like surgical gloves, so I didn't like when things blew up on me. I travel with an extra chain, two extra chain links,
Yep. Okay.
um,
Here's a couple things just to kind of wrap this a little.
spacers, just a bunch of random stuff.
I think the important thing, and this is like for flying and traveling in general, kind of you can't do this for the first time when you go on your first trip. So like you probably should have taken your bike apart once before or put it back together and have familiarity with it, right? Like and have a little bit of understanding. Emergency situations are going to happen. Um, I'm I think actually for like Kona and some of these other races, or even when you travel into local race, it's okay to go in a little earlier. The 5 to 8 day window that Andy's talking about is really for when you're changing your time zones in a major way. That's what's really bad. And like going from the US to Kona, I don't consider that a major time zone change because you're going west. So it's not as much of a big deal in terms of like flipping, and you're just getting up earlier, which isn't terrible. It's more the other way around. Um, I just don't personally, and Andy and I've done this way forever. We don't like showing up early because you get stale. If you don't get stale, that's fine, and it costs a lot more money to stay longer. Like,
So
um,
I took my bike into the shop right before I left, and then it still went wrong. How do you keep calm when like your bike is like falling apart, even though you did everything right? They're just saying like it's just triathlon, it's okay, or what mantra do you use to just not break down?
um,
Yeah. So for me, like I'm actually a really big fan of like of stoicism
yeah.
and knowing there are things that I can't control. Usually what I do in those moments is God, they could mean the world to you. Um, but is it any different if you woke up in the morning and you can't compete because like you're deathly ill? And then how do you handle that? Yes, it is. It sucks. Um, yeah, it was definitely a challenge and something I learned on how to adapt to overcome those feelings and that general world is crashing down on me. Why me? Type of self-reflection. Um, God, this sounds. And I don't want to minimize it, Connor. Like even at the peak levels, like I used to think like this is it. This is the only, and that's exhausting. Because it very rarely is the only. I know that sucks. I know that's not why you're here.
Oh no, it's
But like,
exactly what I want to hear. Like there was the people that held hands across the finish line and both got DQ'd. The one girl was like, "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to hold your hand. It's my idea." And the one girl was like, "It's just triathlon. It doesn't matter. It's fine." And that was like her livelihood, just to have that perspective and know like this isn't like
Yeah.
you
Well,
love it,
yeah, I
but
used
like
to think it with like, I mean, even when you have perennial events, like, uh, it, an Ironman or the Ironman World Championships or a quadrennial event like the Olympics for me. Like I was like, oh, this is it. This is my one chance. Nope, there's another one in 4 years. Nope, there's another one in 8 years.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I offer something here?
yeah,
So I think that's a really interesting way and a good way. Like a lot of people default to that to kind of no big deal, right? It'll happen again, right? But for you, it is the world, and it is the
it
world in
is the
that
world.
moment.
100%.
I think what's more important is like preparation. If you're prepared and you know these things could happen, then you feel better about it. It's like when you show up and it's really windy or the waves are big. Well, I prepared for all these things, and so I'm going to deal with it. A couple ways to prepare in this situation, like Andy said, you have all this spare stuff. You know how to work on your bike a little. And maybe before you go to a venue, you do a little recon and you find the best bike mechanics in the area and you know where they are and you know all that stuff already. So you're not like on your phone trying to figure it out. Then
Mm.
you're just another day at the office going through it, right? Like you have your contingency plan for your contingency plan for your contingency plan. One is the bike's fine. Two is I fix it myself because I know how to. Three is I know the mechanic where I need to go and I go in and I get it fixed. Done. And you just business as usual.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like you say those things now, but we do have things at our fingertips. When we didn't, oh boy,
Yeah.
things got real interesting real fast. And you're in. Oh, you know what I also travel with? Uh, Gorilla Glue.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what?
Like masking tape and electrical tape.
Yeah, but three different kinds of tape.
Yeah.
Um, and then I have Gorilla Glue, and I have the gel. I like the gel. I think it's stickier. Um, I had to repair a spacer in Puerto Rico for my seat clamp all night. That was great.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Um,
A
yeah.
few more tips for you, Tanya. Ready? I'm not Tanya, Jenna. When you take everything apart, before you take it apart, I take a picture of it so you have it. Anything you can put back on your bike, do it. So like if there's screws and stuff that can go back in where they belong and they're not going to fall out, put them back. If not, have a Ziploc bag for different stuff. Take pictures so you know where it is. Um, Go get plumber's insulation, like pipe insulation to cover your frame. Yeah,
I
and
got
then
one for you.
yeah,
I like the bolts back in the spot. One thing that like I was traveling with an extra baggie of different size bolts and stuff, and you you find out when things break what you need. Um, so now everybody has disc wheels. I actually take the disc brake off now, and then I travel with two extra ones.
yeah.
And I have a wrench that like straightens them. I travel with
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when that thing gets bent and it rubs and it clinks on you the entire ride, you know that that's not helping you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
And
stuff,
then,
and you kind of have to get proficient in knowing your equipment. But that,
yeah, and I travel with extra tires. Yeah. Yeah. It's always because you learned the wrong way what extra to pack.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing I would know besides a mechanic, Connor, is know where an Ace Hardware is because they have the best bolt nuts and bolts.
yep.
Yeah, that those are
Ace and Fastenal has some
yeah, Fast and
decent.
All too. Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, they've saved me so many times.
Yeah, I've used that before.
Yeah. So that's it. That's what it is.
Yeah, best is when you go to a different country.
Yeah, yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good times. I'll write a book one day.
yeah. All right, that's what I got, Potts.
Okay, just about an hour.
Yeah, well, half hour
Okay,
longer than we said.
yeah, always.
It's like you're racing. Let's go. Woo!
In the other direction.
Other direction. Yeah, yeah.
All right, happy holidays, everybody. Hope everybody has a wonderful December. Let us know if we can help you with your goal setting and what you want to achieve for 2025. It's around the corner. Best year ever.
Yeah. Good luck. Twos.
Who's